the house.
How do we call you guys together? Like kitties?
Once business owners start making money, guess what? You start buying stuff, buying liabilities.
Talk about making it awkward. This guy is a product.
I told you.
While we're in Everest, we're signed paper to close a $77 million apartment.
Let's go on the deep end. Let's dive into it. Do you consider you found your voice yet, or you're still working on it?
Sorry, I just want to say you guys have asked the best questions already, like bar none. I am so impressed.
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
Right. There we go.
It's funny because actually when we do the sounds in here, they cut the other one.
Yeah, it's all good. Guys, we are finally back, and the past 2 weeks have been completely insane.
I'm
But
not gonna lie,
today,
I miss the podcast a lot. Like it energizes me. And I felt drained, and I was asking myself, why? Why do I feel so drained of energy? Is the podcast.
It's definitely a podcast, you know. But today is the best day to come back. We have incredible entrepreneurs. And the best part is that they're actually sisters. So 2v2 today.
I know. You kind of ruined the intro right here, though.
No, I never ruined the intro, bro. Come on, go with the flow.
I ruined it. I didn't read it.
Yes, come on.
You can tell we haven't done this in a while.
You haven't done this in a while, man.
That's
Come
right.
on.
You read my part. But guys, today the guests, they are the best at investing in multifamily apartments. They've gone from 0 to 300 million in assets under management. And even more impressive, they are the host of a podcast. Cash flow multipliers. I just read your part.
You just read my part. It's so good. It's so good. This is the best part. But, you know, I'm not sure what's more impressive. $300 million or 150 episodes of a podcast. Clearly, the podcast, just saying.
Yep.
But without further ado, please welcome the Thailand queens, the category queens of multifamily apartments, Palmy and Nancy Kitty.
Yay!
Welcome.
Thank you
Welcome,
for having us.
guys.
Yes. So the Kitty sisters are in the house. Woo!
The
That's
Kitty sisters,
right.
and it has. Okay, so how do we call you guys together? Like kitties? They called us BIZBROS. So do you guys have like a together nickname?
They call us the Kitty Sisters.
The Kitty sisters. Sounds
right.
good.
The
All right.
Kitty sisters. It is. Talk about making it awkward. This guy is a product.
I told you before the interview that it was gonna be a little awkward. That's fine. That's you know what happens when you become a dad. But
So, Paul and Nancy, I'm very excited to have you here. First of all, this intro was as chaotic as it can get. Like we told you, we haven't done the podcast. We haven't recorded an episode in like 2-3 weeks, and now we're back at it, and we're just
Back in
a
action.
mess.
Rusty.
But I'm so excited because you guys have an incredible story. You guys are doing incredible things, and you guys are down the alley for the podcast as well because you guys are creators as well. So we're gonna touch base on everything. But before we get started, I know you guys are doing something very, very important for your audience and for audiences that are looking to invest, to grow right on their finances and find that freedom, that wealth. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that before we launch with the rest of the conversation?
Yeah. So we basically came to realization that, hey, we're an asset. Like if we don't go out to work, our income stops flowing. So this is what we had to say. If you rather own assets than being an asset, all you need to do is go to jumpstartapartments.com. Again, it's jumpstartapartments.com. Yep.
I love it.
I love this, right? And go ahead, we'll bookmark the link. We're putting it in there because it's gonna make a lot of sense when we continue with the interview, right? And
Yes.
I'm stoked because not so long ago we were actually in Boise, Idaho, and I remember we were in our Uber going to this secret event, I guess, at that point, and you guys were at that event, but we were not members of that event. And
I don't think I knew about you at that time, if I'm being honest.
And we're going for a different thing. We're going for, content production. And somehow we ended up in the same room as you guys. We didn't meet you guys, but we were like, oh my gosh. So, talk about Dream 100. Talk about somebody.
We walked in and we're like, I feel the presence of two amazing sisters in here.
Oh, wow.
and and this is a concept that we talk on the show very often with the people are like, hey, how do you guys connect with your dream relationships, and how do you go build those that? And then our asset is our podcast, and we owe everything in our business to it. And I want to put this out there because there's a lot of people that might be intimidated to actually reach out and have a conversation with somebody that maybe they admire, that they look up, that they, you know, they see their stuff going bonkers and amazing, right? Like you guys do. The things that you do is incredible, and we're going to dive in. So I want to encourage everybody, reach out to those people. And I think, you know, Nancy, we jumped on a call, right? And I think it was like 20-minute schedule, and we ended up talking for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it was so much
really
fun.
hit it up. And now we're like, this conversation is the one that should be the podcast.
Wow.
Yes.
Big pressure, Fonzie.
Wow. Follow me. I'm just saying they're already kicking us out of the conversation
I feel
over
like,
here.
I feel like, should we be here? Maybe we can just leave.
You have your own
right?
conversation.
We're like third and fourth wheeling this conversation right now.
But
It was so fun.
Yes. But I'm very interested, right? Like we're originally from Venezuela. You guys are from Thailand, correct?
Yeah.
And I wanna dive a little bit into like that story. Like, what brings you to the United States?
Yeah.
For us, U.S. school,
Mm.
and then why do you guys get in the business that you guys are in now? Like, I'm very curious about that transition.
Yeah. So, long story short, our parents obviously
Came here.
Came here. To basically financially, they were leaving something not super awesome, and they came here to find a better life. There were different choices, and a lot of friends recommended my dad, like, hey, go to the US. He knew no English. He had like a 5th grade education, but he's like, this is where he wants to be, and
grow his family.
And within a couple years, like, he brought us over because that was the end goal. He needed to come and set up things and make sure. So we grew up in the United States, and
so that's how
we got to the US.
And then
how old were you guys when you came to the States? Were you kids?
So yeah, we
Before?
were kids.
Yeah.
So we were kids.
Like
And
kids.
then how we got into real estate is quite interesting, because at that time when you have not have a lot of money, it has a way to control us, right? It tell us when to get up, when to go to bed, when do we get to rest, right? It dictate us in every single way, right? It's been the driving force behind our hustle and our grind. I mean, I guess it's from like all the conditioning from the society, the things that our parents taught us, and probably the things we have read and things we have witnessed, that, you know what, we can never stop. And that's kind of like how we start getting to an apartment investing, because we would tell ourselves in the old role we were in,
we
that
were in the fashion business.
There's no work for you.
Okay.
Even for just like 15 minutes, right? You got to go do this. You got to go meet your client. You got to go pick up the button sample. You got to go pick up other productions. And of course, you had to take your grandma to see a doctor. So there's no there's no break for you, right? Because if you don't do it, that hustle and grind, your income flow will stop. And that's why we said, hey, don't be the asset, own asset. Because if we don't have work, or if we don't produce income or output, we don't have income, right? So we keep on working and pushing ourselves, and even punishing ourselves, because we thought, hey, that must be the secret to success. Look how far it has gotten us. So, you know, like, we're making millions in our fashion business. Like Palm said, we're in fashion, but
it was on like a very shaky foundation, because at that time we didn't realize like I don't know if you guys been to Splash Mountain in Disneyland. They closed it recently, but they must have one in Florida too. Like, at the beginning, the ride, it's a log ride. There's like little cute bears. There's a forest. You think you're happy. And that's like life on a shaky economic foundation where you're the asset. You go, then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I just got dropped into this like this. And that's what happened to us. We had a strong business that was based on us being the source of income. And then when one night, out of the blue.
So here's the fundamental truth, right? Like we said, we were the asset. We were the one who were responsible for generating the income. If we didn't work, the money stopped flowing. AKA, without any input, sweat equity, there would be no output, which is the income. So, yeah. So, at one point, what happened was like our biggest client out of the blue announced on the news that they're closing all their retail stores. So overnight, 95% of our income, which was tied to this brand, just went away. Yeah. And that's when we realized, wait a minute, we sacrificed so much time for this business, for the financial,
for the family, for everything else,
for the financial and the time freedom, and thought, hey, the income would just keep going and going forever. We never thought that one day it will be taken away from us. We thought, hey, we will do this forever, right? But the truth was, we had sacrificed, and that led us to overwork, exhausted, and even like jobless, right? Eventually.
So at that point, then we're jobless and we're like scrambling. What do we do? Because do we keep going the way we are, even though this situation is pretty clearly evident that, like, hey, if we keep doing this, it's going to be worst case. We had no contingency plan. We have no safety net. We had no backup. So then we had to act really fast. And we said, okay, stick with fashion or find something new. And that's when we were like, and this is good for like your channel, because it's basically like
people have choices.
You have like, how do we own assets in a business at the same time? And that's where we discovered real estate. Not real estate where we're doing single family home rentals here and there, where it's just like in the background, but actually operate this as a real business.
Yeah. So we told ourselves, like, hey, there must be a better path, right? Like a better path, a different world where we are spacious, like feel spacious, light, and just happy, right? So we kept on searching and searching and searching. And that's when we attended a real estate event that changed our life, right? And once again, our world turned upside down when we realized there's a different universe out there than what we've been told.
That's awesome.
So I want to relate this to something I actually read recently. And it refers to what you just mentioned about, having that now space once you started investing into real estate. And, you guys look extremely happy. So I'm guessing, obviously, you're very happy with the choices you guys have made. And, recently I was reading the newsletter for Taylor Welch. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he was actually sharing a little bit about his thoughts on wealth, how before he thought wealth was just like financial freedom in a sense, right? It's like, I need a lot of money. But now that he has kids and he's been like thinking about it a little bit more, he's like, I actually think wealth is like a mix between time and energy, right? And like capital, money, it's an enabler of that. But he says time lets you go the length, right? But if you have time but you don't have the energy, you won't have the depth. So you need to find both. And it seems that real estate investment actually gives you guys both, right? It gives you time, and it also gives you the energy then to enjoy, your day and all that. Like, I'm looking at your Facebook, and it looks like recently you guys went to like the Everest, right? Which is like mind blowing. I don't know if that's recently or not, but either way, it's mind blowing.
Yes, we did.
Nancy was actually texting me while we were scheduling. She's like, I'm at the top of the mountain, but we can talk this day.
Technology.
Which I love. I just wanted to relate it, right? On our side, we also had an experience, probably not as crazy as yours, with the amount of volume that you guys were doing in the industry, but we also lost about 90% of our sales with like one event, right? For us, it was COVID, all the businesses that we were helping close, and we were like, wow, this is like a really challenging moment for us to really decide what we wanted to do. And for us, that was the pivot to the podcast, right? And building, in our sense, like this asset. But as I hear you talk, right, it's true, right? Like, we are the asset to this, right? Like, the feedback is your personal. If the show doesn't go on, obviously we have the evergreen, the long tail of the show. But it's pretty interesting to me to see it under that perspective. To me, at least, is the first time, like, okay, I own I own the thing, I own the business, I own my decisions, I can drive it forward. But I'm assuming there's gonna be a point where something needs to change, right? And be like, okay, how do we take this to the next level? And I love that you guys are here providing, those resources. Now, here's a question, right? Because when you're in that game, right, when you're playing, where you're so close, to the field, and you're dealing with your team, and you're solving problems for somebody else, it's like, how do you, for you guys, was that experience? But how does an entrepreneur or somebody that's making these decisions, that is in the business 24/7, how do we separate ourselves from that to look at the situation from 10,000 feet above the ground and make that decision to be like, wow, this is a new thing I want to tackle. This is a new thing I want to learn. This is a new thing I want to, start investing and putting my money into it, so I can then get, that dream life that I really want. How do we unplug from that to be able to make that decision?
Yeah,
wow, I love your question.
I just want to say you guys have asked the best questions already, like bar none. I am so impressed. So it because you know why? Because you're a business owner, so you understand that. I think this is just a common problem with a lot of business owners. You're in the weeds so much that you don't even take a second. Either your business is thriving so much, and you're like, their mindset is like, I'm just gonna keep doing this. Why do I need to worry about my plan B because this is going to do well? Like you hear that all the time. The problem is like the unknown is what always kills us, and that's what they call the black swan effect in finance, right? The unknown. We don't know when this is happening. So what we say is take what we there's a concept in the book that says like the richest man in Babylon. It talks about pay yourself first. So I think like in business, especially in a startup phase, we tend to reinvest the money into the business, hire staff, grow the business, where you don't actually pay yourself first. Paying yourself first isn't go buy a luxury car or like, hey, I'm gonna take rides on like a private jet. Paying yourself first means how do I extract at least 10% of the income that I'm producing right now
and grow that
independent of my efforts. And I think like that's not a hard step. I think the thing that most entrepreneurs feel is they want the sense of the control, then think like, I need to go buy my own apartment. And that's like, oh, that's a whole another workload that I'm going to push it aside because that's too much work. I don't have time for that. But if you can say, take 10%, invest with a group of people that knows what they're doing, you're going to be able to then continue to focus on your genius zone while now you have this growing separately.
Yeah. Is that the type of people you guys want to get in the challenge, right? The jumpstart apartments?
The experience, Fonzie.
The experience.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think like those are the type of people that we understand are the ones that, you know, business owners are the movers and shakers of this world. And we want them to thrive and be, like you said, have that energy and time and financial freedom. But if they don't have all of those, they can't be the imaginative and creative people they are to help more people in the world.
Yes, they will end up trading their time for a lot of money, and eventually they could probably retire, or they have to grind until they cannot anymore, until they die. So I think it's a matter of choice, and also being surrounded with the right people who have this kind of mentality. Because once you're in this world and get introduced, you want more. Because in our mind, we always like, how can we do it, like make more, but with less effort, right? And when you surround yourself with people who start thinking and talking like that, like naturally, like we start thinking subconsciously like that, and it will lead you to that point where like you're like, hey, how can I disconnect my income generation from my time so that I can live the life that I love, so I can own my own time, finances, my own schedule, and my future.
As you guys are explaining this, right, I'm going through the different phases, you know, over the last 7 years that we've experienced, and you know, by no means we're like way ahead of, you know, it's crazy. We still have so much room to grow, of course. And but you know, from doing vinyl stickers from, you know, one extra room that we had in our house, to then doing screen printing out of the garage, to then, you know, go on renting our first office, right, and doing this content as a side gig, and like that was like our evolution, right? And you know, it's crazy, we haven't really announced it yet, but we just made like probably the biggest purchase that we've ever made as a business, and we're still, right, like in it. The goal is obviously to grow it to a point where like we're not connected to the day-to-day. But as I've been driving, I have a commute now. So as I'm driving, like I listen to, there's a show in our network called My First Million, right? And they talk a lot about building businesses and selling them, or buying this business and then selling the asset. And I'm like, okay, where's this gonna go, right? Like, especially with the new phase that we're going now. Maybe we do an episode of like, what are our thoughts? Like, what's next based on this decision? But are we building something so we can sell, and then we have like this exit, and then with that exit, then we invest, right? But at the same time, in my head, I'm like, I'm brand new to that world of investing. I know how to invest my time, my effort, my thing to build something, right, onto this point. But now I'm brand new. To me, that thought is so intimidating, right? So the fact that you gave me a simple framework is like, how do I take that 10% of what I'm making and then grow it? It's incredible. So thank you, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, wow, like yes, I've taught, I've learned about real estate. I've learned about this. What an incredible vehicle, right? Like, but just the fact of trying to learn it when we're in the mix, to me, is like, oh boy, I don't have enough hours in the day. I have a 4-year-old, I have a 1-year-old. My wife has nothing to do with entrepreneurship, so she's like, whatever, right?
I'm just gonna say that 10% that you're gonna invest is probably safer in real estate with the kid sisters than the trading cards that you're getting into,
I know. Bro, wow. That is true. That is true. That is true. Hey, I have an obsessive personality, and then when I recently got into trading cards, and I'm learning. But yes,
I had to throw him under the bus.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
So I have a question for you guys, right? And a lot of the solutions and businesses that a lot of entrepreneurs build obviously come from solving their pain first, right? And you guys share a little bit about that pain. But I'm curious, right? Going even before that, right? When you guys were in the fashion industry, were you guys actually paying yourself first, like you said right now, or that thought about investing came after, kind of like that downfall, that one client of yours that left, right? Like, are there any lessons that you learned throughout your, fashion years? And I'm sure you guys are still into the fashion years right now. But, are there any lessons in there that are translating into the real estate industry that you guys are in right now?
Oh, wow. Love this question too. Definitely, we pay ourselves first, but we pay ourselves in the wrong way. Because at that time, we thought the only way we make money is, trade time for money. And once we trade time for money, we go buy things that's like, kind of what now we know called liability. We get into we buy XYZ, right? Instead of investing and growing that asset pot, because we didn't understand the concept of passive income. We didn't even know there was other choices for us. We were just educated, as we said, like, hey, go to school, get a good job. And if you want anything, just work more and just pay for it. And that's it. We have no idea that we can actually pay ourselves and reinvest that money
we missed the second part. We didn't reach the richest man in Babylon.
So we just pay ourselves and then we go buy stuff, right?
I think a lot of people once business owners start making money, guess what? You start buying stuff, buying liabilities, buying cars, homes, watches, bags,
whatever.
But
trading cards, apparently.
Trading cards, not income producing assets.
Right?
Yes,
so for us, we could have gotten everything that we just listed, but instead of just directly go buy it, we buy assets so that it can pay for all those stuff, so that the principal is not touched. You're just spending on
you're growing your wealth.
You're growing your wealth, but you're just getting from the cash flow, the passive income side. So we're not against all those luxury stuff. We just wanted we just need to do it a different way.
Yeah, this is a smarter way to do it, and it seems that that's kind of like the lessons that you guys stumble upon, right? And I feel like you said, I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs are like, well, I'm working hard, right, on this, I need to reward myself, and then they go and buy, I don't know, I go and eat a lot of ramen, So I'm like, let me just go to the ramen shop and just eat ramen every single day and spend all my money in there.
But I feel like for everyone who got enlightened, they would understand if they shift, just change 20% of who they are, and they just shift this mindset, they can have everything that they still want. It's just how wealthy people are acquiring them.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So I want to dive into that a little bit, right? You gave us the first step, right? I love the 10% first step, but also I wrote here delaying gratification, right? Sometimes we live in this society that is like, okay, I want it now. In many ways, right? And I relate 100%, right? The second we do a little bit of money, we're like, oh, let's go do this, or let's do an experience, or let's go buy stuff. I am guilty 100%. I'm admitting it.
You open the first trading card, you're like, where's Messi?
I know, and then got 3 more boxes. That's what's fresh right now. But I've definitely experienced that, right? And just the thought of hey, there's one more step, right? That in my mind is okay, I have to learn. I don't I didn't know the Kitty sisters. Now I do, which is great. But in my mind, it's gonna take time. How do then in our heads as entrepreneurs do we delay gratification? How do we start changing our mindset so we can be in a position to execute like you guys are doing, which is clearly amazing, and then have the results that we really want, right? What's the first step to start changing that mindset?
So that's a really good question. I think like, so there's a couple things. The first one is like, delayed gratification isn't years, isn't 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. If you do this correctly, it's just takes a little bit of time, but it's like 5 years.
I think the whole idea here is that you need to think of what your end goal is, right? So if your end goal is to achieve financial time and energy freedom in 10 years, you kind of break it down. Like, what does it take? Like, how can you close that gap? Because when you have that gap in mind, like, and you every day you take a step towards it, you fill up those gaps, you're going to be like, wow, this 10-year has been amazing, because rather than achieving that in 30, 40, 50 years, I'm getting to achieve it in 10 years or less, right?
And the other thing is like, there's two other parts. First is that create milestones for yourself to celebrate the small victories along the way, so that you don't wait 5 years and like, oh, one bang celebration. It's like, no, hey, I made my first investment. That's a win. Hey, I looked at my first property. That's a win. Hey, I
get a cash
flow.
I'm going to take my family on a holiday.
I got tax benefits. That's a win. Like, so create small milestones along the way. And the other thing to recognize is that, like, the way we're telling you is like, this is a lifestyle business. Either you're active like us, which is a lifestyle business. That's why we're in Everest in the middle of the year on holiday. And we can do that, and we can still have the business apartments like run itself.
Right now, we're closing. While we're in Everest, we're signed paper to close a $77 million apartment.
Wow!
So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's a lifestyle business. So that's way one, right? Active. Second way is passive. If you're a passive investor, as we talked about, you're not spending any time in this business. We're running it. We're the active people doing the day to day. So the time will go by faster for you because you're not learning, frustrated, having to figure out all the stuff, running into pitfalls. So that's why those are the two things I would say.
I love this. I want to ask, do you have anything else around this topic that you want to talk about? Because I personally want to transition a little bit about to your marketing and, you know, your entrepreneurship and
I want to talk world a little bit, a sense, but I do want to do a quick remark, right? Because I think this is so important. You know, we come from a family. We love them and adore them. They've always fully support ourselves in any decisions that we made, right? Like, we wanted to be professional soccer players. They did everything they could to get us there. Yep. We got to Europe. We got to the States because of soccer, right? It gave us the opportunities. But we never had a financial education to understand money, right?
Oh yeah.
Our mom was she is a university, you know, professor. Our dad, you know, jumping around in a couple of jobs and dabble in entrepreneurship, chemical engineer, right? But never had a financial education.
And I would say that our mom was like literally financial literal, I guess. I don't know if that's a word, probably not. But she knew like the typical, like, okay, I'm gonna save my money here. You know, I'm gonna take good care. Like, she was really good at like budgeting things, but I don't think they had the investor mindset. They didn't have that like lengthy mindset of like, okay, how do I make this money work for me?
And I think part of it is like the country we grew up in, right? Like, we're in Venezuela. Like, we went through it's still going through a crisis, so it's not the friendliest environment to do something like this.
Yeah, they had way less access to content, right? Educative content. Like, they would have had to go to the library or go shake some hands also to learn about that, right?
So I think this is why this is super exciting to me, right? Because it's a starting point for people that might be in a position like we are, right? Where we can start learning about this. We have an action plan where the 10% freaking love that. And then starting to get in those goals on the mindset, right? Because that, to me, that's why I ask those questions. Personally, to me, that has been the biggest hurdle in something like this, right? So I really appreciate it. And, you know, part of it is you guys being out there sharing your message, right? Which is, you know, the thing that we talk about all the time. So can you walk us a little bit on that process? You know, you guys are running your business. You guys are doing these amazing things. You guys are meeting incredible people. Why the decision on putting your message out there to the world? You know, you guys do have a podcast. You guys get some podcasts. What was that decision like? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, I believe that every single business needs to be their own media business, right? At the same time, they have to run their own media and their own message, but it's very intimidating for many factors. How was that transition to you guys? Were like, we'll start a podcast, we'll start producing content. How was that conversation for you guys?
You know what? That you hit it on the nail on the head. Like, we didn't want to be on social. We don't want, like, in our fashion business, it was B2B.
We didn't even have a
We don't
business
even
card.
have a business card, right? So it's like B2B. You deal directly with a couple people. No one knows who you are. You're like faceless person who's making money behind the scene.
And now
you'll see Britney Spears wearing your clothes, or you'll see someone with your handbag. It's like pretty cool. Like, you'll walk through a random airport, like, we make that. But like what you said about like financial literacy was the reason why we needed to come out and speak on this subject, because while people can make great money in whatever active income they do, business owners, doctors, lawyers, they don't understand the financial what actually takes to get financial freedom. And so that's why we started our podcast,
which is Casual Multipliers. And then now we have our YouTube channel, which is the Kitty Sisters TV. And the goal is just to empower and inspire people to, like, take control of their own time, finances, and, future, to own your own schedule.
Yeah. And I think, like, the thing is, like, if they know basically the message just needs to get out to more people. Most people aren't aware that this is even a possibility, that owning a $77 million apartment is something that is in a realm of their possibilities. And so they didn't do it. Now,
they thought that, hey, you need to have millions of dollars, you need to be like math whiz, or you need to like
come from a really
or have family. A lot of time, or like put in a lot of effort. But they didn't know the thing that that we love teaching, that is, hey, how do you make more and work less and make more? And here's the thing, like, the beautiful thing is the power of like compound interest, how it does wonder through time and your, like, with your investment. And that's kind of like one thing that we talk about, like, how do you have that delayed gratification? Once you have that number, but once you can see, hey, if I put away 10% of my income, and like if you put it into a calculator, oh my God, you'd be like, wait, what? Like 10,000 can be $1.6 million or something like that. It's like, you'll be like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, so good. By the way, we're gonna link all the YouTube channel on the podcast right below. So if you're interested to learn more, all you gotta do is use that thumb of yours and scroll down your screen and click on it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely gonna share everything. I'm curious. I'm looking at your podcast episodes here, and the first one you guys recorded or published was December 27th, 2021. So, I wonder first if it was like a Christmas conversation where you guys were like, you know what? Merry Christmas, we're making a podcast. And then the other thing I'm curious about.
Bobby's like, nope.
Who knows?
Bobby's like, we've been trying to talk to.
Maybe one of them was pushing for a podcast and the other one didn't. And then one of the gifts was like a set of microphones. It's like, well, now you got no other option.
Start talking.
What is it? Oh yeah, start talking.
Start talking now.
Well, actually,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, we have a fear of like speaking, right? But we feel like more people need to hear this, because honestly, like, if everybody know of these kind of information, and like it will change their life trajectory. And we feel like we have to overcome our fear of like, hey, speaking, like, just really just be us and authentically just share.
Like, it took us a while to actually launch. We had the concept for a while, and it was like, oh, what's the right date? We're not ready. And then like,
but now we know, like, honestly, it's about like taking that massive, like, even sometimes imperfect action, like in anything you do in life, even in like, like go out to work, or like even investment or anything, right? You can always mitigate risk, but here's the thing, you have to take action.
Yeah. So tell me more about that, right? You said that you were kind of like afraid and, of like being yourself in there. And that happened to us, right? We actually shared this story a few times, where we had a previous podcast before Content is Profit called Brews and Bros, where we would talk about, marketing and entrepreneurship while drinking a beer. And I always say, I'm happy it didn't work. I'm happy it didn't work out, because we would be alcoholics. Yeah. But, we were trying to make that one so professional, so not ourselves. And on this one, we're like, you know what, let's joke around, let's be awkward, whatever happens. And, that through iteration, you find yourself and you find your voice. Yeah. Was it like that for you guys? Like you said, you guys like planted a lot, and then you kind of like were like, all right, good, let's go on the deep end. Let's dive into it. Do you consider you found your voice yet, or you're still working on it?
I mean, I think like it's always like a always progressing, never ending kind of thing. Like you get better and better as we do it. Obviously, day one to now, we're better at it. But we're not by no means like I feel like we're way we need way more work on that. But again, it's like we do what we can, we do the best that we can at that point in time. And so the thing that we realized was like we were giving ourselves too much pressure to be something that we weren't. We weren't professional podcasters. We barely know how to do this, record, how do we, you know, like literally basic things we didn't understand at that time. But what we know now is like give ourselves the grace, do the best we can, and then people who understand and appreciate our message, they're gonna be okay with like we're not going to be as polished as someone else or anyone else, just be us.
And I think over time, like, you know, like you just improve, like, you know, like how there's a saying, like if you do something for over 10,000 hours, you become an expert at it. So I want to encourage anyone who's listening is that whatever you want to achieve, you should start now, because you will get better, right? In time, you will get better. Like Oprah, like she wasn't a great public speaker, or Beyonce, she wasn't rising to the top of the chart. They all started somewhere. So like, so you should start somewhere, and then you'll become better.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just heard a podcast about Leonardo da Vinci, and the host, our friend Leo, you know, and the host was saying how he would always make a remark on how at first he really didn't actually like reading books because he thought he actually wasn't learning. He actually preferred starting doing the thing, and then down the road when he had some base knowledge, then he would go and check on books. Then instead, obviously, as he grew up older, he kind of like changed his view a little bit, and he liked reading, but he always had that, you know, action first kind of like initiative, which I feel now with all the information that's out in the world, it's a little bit challenging for people, because people like you have all the resources that you want at the you know, at your fingertips. So people are like, how to do X, Y, and Z, and immediately thousands of YouTube videos show up, and you go down this rabbit hole, and then eventually you get to a point where you go from motivated to do something to overwhelmed from the amount of information that you have, and then you're like, okay, I don't want to do it anymore. Or you start overthinking it, and it's like, what mic do I need? What framework do I need to create this podcast, etc. Right? So I love that advice. It's like, just get started, start putting the hours. Like it is very different, the amount of hours of actually taking action than just reading and consuming about something.
Yes, and this can tie back to like our recent trip to the Everest base camp. Like we didn't wait until we have like the perfect like hiking gear or shoes or even fitness level, right? We literally didn't train for it. It's like we're really fortunate. Like we just walk our fur babies, and they kept us like in shape, and we just show up at the beginning of the trail and we just start walking for days. Like we end up walking.
There's gonna be a lot of people right now listening, like, I hate you guys. I hate
like,
you.
No, you can be too.
We reached like,
I'm with you.
Over 17,000 feet elevation, right? And we walk over 75 miles in 9 days. We just kept walking like one step at a time. Yeah. And our focus was our finish line, right? Our finish goal, which is to reach that Everest base camp. We didn't care like what we didn't have or what we thought we lack of. We just focused on our goals and we just keep walking.
Yeah. You know what? Like that's a good point. Like we actually talked about this. Like if you have like too many goals, so many things you're chasing after, you're not going to be able to focus. But every single day, all we cared about is getting to that next place that we're supposed to rest, that next city. And so like if you only have one thing you're focusing on, and the action steps were,
and that kind of tied back to the delayed gratification. We didn't get to Everest base camp the first day we got there. We actually took step and process to get there, but we had our goal in mind, and every day we're walking closer to it, that we don't want to give up. Like by day 6 or day 7, when our body was like, oh, I can't take this anymore, we like, no, we're so close to our goal, we're gonna keep to our plan, this roadmap, we're just gonna keep going, tackling one point at a time.
Yeah. Isn't it incredible how our bodies and mind can adapt to stuff like that, right? Like I remember, I mean, a few years back, I decided to do a 24-hour race, right? And FONZI was there, you know, supporting me. And again, like I felt like I've trained for it, but once we were doing the thing, it felt like never. And I remember it was like just focus on the next step, just like do one more step, do the other one. And there's a point in the race that, you know, you start at noon and then you finish at noon. And there's during the night, it's crazy because like there's a lot of people kind of going to sleep in their tent, or like it's freezing. I think it was like 32 degrees out there. I'm wearing like this wetsuit, and I remember we're starting a new lap, and it's 5-mile lap with a bunch of obstacles. You're wet, you're in mud, and I remember the thing that I kept thinking was just one more step, and then you will point, you know, you will see a tree, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna walk to that tree. And then I'm gonna walk to that rock, and that's what kept going. That kept me going, and I was like, "Wow, my body is amazing." Yes. And I use that a lot of times where I go back to that experience in my head. I'm like, if I went through that, I can go through this today. And it's similar to what you guys were doing, right? I mean,
I just want to point out a commonality here. They train to the Everest, walking their fur babies. You train for your 24-hour race, jogging your fur baby.
That's right. Moment. That's right. The husky.
I think I need a fur baby.
Yeah.
To get me shape in here. That's what I'm hearing.
Hey, fur baby for the win.
You know what?
And then you do 2 races.
Well, you know what?
You do 2 things.
So everything starts with fur babies. I think that's the conclusion. So
fur babies,
that's a lesson.
And then I'll just climb the Everest in 24 hours. That's gonna be mine.
I really want to highlight. I mean, obviously, yes, lots of lessons, right? Get moving, get started, take action, right? Like our dad just launched a podcast maybe like 2 months ago, and he'd been talking about it for 3 years. And we're like, Dad, just grab your phone. He's like, I don't have the computer, I don't have the equipment. Grab your phone and record the story that you want to tell in your phone, right? You have a team that can help you, right? Like he had us that we can help him, but at the same time, you can publish that and it's okay, right? Like you're gonna grow into it. I really want to highlight though the fact that it started with the desire to helping people solve a problem. Yeah. And that's what's keeping you active. That's what drives you a ton. That's what I've noticed, right? And the type of content that you've been putting out there, that's the thing. So I want to encourage everybody that's listening or watching right now, if you are getting into this content game, what problem are you solving? Are you actually serving people, right? Or are you actually chasing the likes and chasing the views and chasing the thing, right? I love every time we go to an event or we have these conversations and the first question is like, well, how big is your podcast? How many downloads? I'm like, I actually don't know. Like we don't look at data that often. And, but then when we look back, we see that, you know, either from, you know, 12 views to 100 views to 1,000 views or to 1,000 listens, it's okay. The person that's listening to that podcast is driving value and they continue to come back and we see the messages come back. So focus on that. Like if you're helping solve a problem, people are going to come to you. This content acts as a magnet. And I love that that's where you guys started. You guys started to like, hey, we're going to help and we're going to serve and we're going to be as loud as possible. And I loved it. So thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's our pleasure. Seriously, guys, I think it's really fun to get out of your comfort zone and all these stuff that we talk about, like having your own podcast, YouTube channel,
running a
24 Everest Base Camp is all for us to train our mind to get out of our comfort zone and things that after the comfort zone is our growth. So every time when you challenge yourself to get out of the comfort zone, you will realize, oh my God, you have grown so much. And these also have the compound effect, right? So like when you look back, like we all are not like who we were like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, or even like a year ago. We have changed so much, and the people and the lives that we have inspired, that's like the rewarding part for us. Like, and then for us as like real estate investor, so far, we've been able to help like our investors save like $50 million in taxes, close to actually $70 million now
by the end of the year.
Amazing.
By the end of the year, and also cash return of over $15 million for them not having to trade their time for money, right? So it's like that is what make us happy.
Yes,
that's amazing. That's a good mission right there.
We're about to wrap up.
I have so many more questions.
I know we're gonna have to do part 2, guys. Just saying.
Yeah, let's do it.
Part 2 can be on your podcast. So,
let's do it. Woo.
So we have a couple of last questions that we need to ask, but before those, this is a question that we get all the time. Every time we're being interviewed together, like you guys are brothers. How don't you kill each other? So you guys are sisters. How don't you kill each other? Like, how are you guys working together? What's that dynamic, right? We even have been in podcasts that they interview marriages, and they're like, "How do you guys deal with each other?"
Yeah,
and we're
we,
like, well,
we had to put
be
a
clear,
disclaimer at the beginning.
To be clear, we're not married.
Exactly. That's what we get to.
So have you guys always kind of like worked together? Have you guys been always close to each other? What has been that evolution with both of you guys, and now obviously running a very successful business?
I'll let Palm take that.
So we as a kid, I didn't get along and we didn't hang out much, but once we started doing business together, we work really, really well. The dynamic is more like, so in apartments, I'm more like the operations acquisition side of the business. She's more like the investor relations, communications, stuff like that.
But I think like we have grown. Like I think like our business, especially in real estate, if you notice, like this is kind of like a family oriented business where you'll see like spouse work together, like parents or even siblings, right? And that is by choice as well, because there's no one else in the world that we trust more than like, you know, than one another. And I think you can probably say that. And you just have to be your authentic self. And yes, we do fight, we have disagreement, even when we start off, like, you know, to record our YouTube channel or like our podcast, like we have different ideas and stuff like that. But like, again, we always think of our end goal. Like, what do we want? We want to have, like, we want to do this. So we're going to have to, and by being together for so much, we learn how to compromise, and we learn how to like, what are the trigger stuff that will trigger her? Like, I won't do it. Like, I know like there's something, and like, you know, we know each other so well that we don't do the things that will trigger those emotions.
At least try to.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That's the difference.
Fonzie keeps doing the things that trigger me.
Yeah,
so
that's the difference. I'm like, oh, that's gonna trigger him. Let me do it right on purpose.
And now we have like a 1 minute rule. Like we can just vent for 1 minute if you don't like anything. And we're like, after 1 minute, it's a waste of time because we're still family and we're still gonna go proceed forward.
Yes.
So we just do 1 minute vent and that's it. We're like, okay, 1 minute is up.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like 1 minute. We should have like boxing gloves around here and be like 1
1
minute,
minute
fight.
punch.
1 minute fight. The winner takes all. Equity on the line. Winner takes all. There we go. I like it.
Winner takes all.
Good recommendation.
Celebrity 1 minute boxing matches. Let's set that up.
That's so fun.
Yeah,
you guys are so cool.
That will be the new clips.
We'll live stream it too.
Oh boy.
We'll make a show out of it.
You have so much anger inside. We were just talking about.
Honestly, no, I'm full of love. I'm such a loving person.
He has a lot of energy.
Full of love.
Yes.
Well, I did just finish a Red Bull, so I think that could potentially be
part of it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna put this out there. Next conversations that we have, I want to learn more about the experience you guys are putting together. I know you guys are launching, I think it's tomorrow. And if you're listening to this, I think it's launched today.
Yeah.
But I want to hear kind of like the breakdown on the strategy and how you guys drove traffic. We know you guys are part of an incredible group of entrepreneurs in the ClickFunnels community, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure you guys might be members of some other amazing communities with entrepreneurs. And I really want to dive deeper into your content and some of the strategies that you guys use to, you know, lead traffic to that experience and, you know, kind of like show a little bit maybe the behind the scenes on some of the results that you guys got. So we're going to have to do that for part 2 after you guys do your experience and, you know, obviously become ultra massive, even more successful, influence a lot of people and help them with all the investments.
We'd love to.
Yes. We're all about the impact.
Guys, I'm super grateful that you guys came onto our platform and our show and sharing your story and what you guys are doing is clearly incredible. And I love that you guys are doing it as a family too, that I relate so much. I could not think of a better person, you know, to do business with than, you know, Fonzie.
For sure.
Sometimes.
He's like,
but
on
honestly,
the mic only.
On the mic only. No, I think we've talked about this, right? And there's been opportunities, and you know, and it's incredible, right? Because at the end of the day, we're family, right? And we want the best for each other. And I'm so happy that you guys are doing the same thing. So, last couple questions. We have 2 questions, right? So, where would you be right now if you did not decide to publish?
Oh wow.
We would be doing like more one-on-one, just conversations. It's going to be more analog. It's going to take more time. It's going to take us away from our family, away from the things, the leisure time. It's going to be a grind, and maybe we'll end up not doing it, you know, because it's just way more work. I think like publishing is an amplifier, and it's like a magnet, like you guys said. So I think publishing is very important.
Awesome.
Yes,
Thank
and
you guys.
I think like by not publishing, you're being selfish, right? You're keeping all the information to yourself. You're like quietly we're accumulating growth and wealth, but we're not sharing to the world where we can help make the difference in people's lives. And just by having a conversation or even listening to this podcast can change your perspective, can take you one step closer to your end goal, right?
Yeah, I think there's just a small remark on that. I think there's a very real fear-based mindset around creating content for a lot of people because they're like, "Oh, what if I put it all out there? Like, they might steal it from me. They might do it themselves." It's like, cool. What if they do it, right? Like, you're still gonna have the people that are gonna resonate with you, that are gonna seek for your help, right, for your guidance, etc. And honestly, the more I see it, I'm like, actually, there's a very, very little, if actually none, people that are going to copy what you're putting out there and do it themselves. Like, when I look at our processes and the things that we do with the content and, on the company, I'm like, I could literally go live and share all this, the behind the scenes. And I know for a fact that I'm going to be having a little bit of fear. Like, what if somebody copies it? What if our competitor grabs this and uses it themselves? But at the same time, now I'm able to see and rationalize it and have the abundance mindset that I think like they won't do it. Like,
and even if they do it,
and even if they,
for everybody.
they won't do it, but actually exactly. But even if they do, awesome, because the mission is to help people publish and, share more of their message. And if they're going to be aligning with the same mission and helping other people do that, absolutely amazing. But when I actually, rationalize it, put my feelings aside, I'm like, actually, like, it took us years to build this stuff, and probably people they're going to be like, wow, you know what? Actually, thank you for all the help. And let me give you a call so you can help me do this thing, right? At the end of the day. So put your message out there, share it freely, and
Yeah, I was going to say exactly what you mentioned, is that there's going to be people who's going to decide to take action. And there's going to be people who decide, I want to have you help me take that action because you have so much wealth of knowledge and all this wisdom. And I don't want to do all that step. I don't want to create my own team. You already know like what to publish or when to publish, what equipment and stuff like that. So there will be those people, and there will be people who just like, I'm just not going to do it. Like, I don't have what it takes. Yeah. And I think by just publishing and being on content, like it just makes you help more people. Again, it goes back to that, right? And then there will be people who resonate with you, and there will be people who don't resonate with you. And you just keep on focusing on like the people who you can help.
That's
absolutely.
Love it. Mic drop. Okay. Last question, guys. What, obviously, apart from clicking all the links right below, what is something that our listeners, the people that are watching right now, can do today, right, to move that needle forward? It can be content related. It can be, investing related. I know what my action point is going to be, but I would love for you guys to send us somewhere.
Yeah, so I think like...
FONZI,
we don't want to be sent yet.
FONZI.
Who pressed that? So I think the first thing for anyone publishing anything you need to do to compress time and go on the faster track, find a mentor, find a team that can hold your hand and get you there faster. The road can be up the mountain by yourself, or like if us were to go on Everest track, we'll probably be lost, or we get a guide to guide us there. Get a guide who can hold our hand and give us like, here are the exact steps you need to take to get to that point. Trust that person, vet that person out, make sure they're the right fit for you, that you can work with them well, and then you're going to be able to do the things correctly, and you're going to be able to succeed. So and compress the time frame. So find a mentor, find a team that you can get you to where your goal is. Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, we agree 100%.
100%.
Part of her story, actually, what changed everything was actually getting a mentor and you know, that was the kickstart of it. Maybe we need a new mentor soon.
Yeah, you guys might know it. We'll talk about might know him. We'll talk about it behind cameras. But I think that's it for the episode, guys. So much. Thank you so much, Fonzie. Anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I want to add that my brother was the one that messed up with the sound. It wasn't me. Just sharing that.
He's like, yeah, you get out. Go. The Kitty sisters. Like, you're done.
Yeah.
We're done with you.
We like to throw each other under the bus.
Yeah. Bring out the gloves.
We love your dynamics. Seriously.
That was like the Emmy, like the rug being pulled, like, stop talking.
It's like, here's the award. And you're like,
Pretty much.
Guys, is there anything else that you want to add before we head out?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we are focused on getting people to not only increase their ability to grow their wealth, but more importantly is achieve time freedom. Because like we talked about, is like, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the time to enjoy it or the energy to actually do it, what's life for? Like, the purpose of life is more to be more fulfilled, to be more impactful. And if you just have a whole bunch of money like Scrooge McDuck and you have nothing to show for it at the end of your life, you're gonna have it would have been a miserable purpose. Like, you would have been on earth and not done anything.
Yeah, so don't just be an asset and own asset. All you need to do, again, guys, is to go to jumpstartapartments.com. Again, it's jumpstartapartments.com.
I love it.
Baby.
I love how we went full circle back to wealth, time, and energy.
That's right.
Time and energy. I love it, guys. Thank you so much.
I think that's the episode, guys. And with that said, thank you so much for tuning to the Content Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite podcasting platform and on social media at BIZBROS.
That is right. If the Kitty Sisters here help you move one step closer towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode and leave a 5-star review. Yeah.
Bye, guys.